Why is everybody giving him paper when he needs soup? Lily Harper asked, and the private sickroom went silent. Vincent Moretti's fake cough stopped halfway behind the white handkerchief marked VM. The 4-year-old stood in her faded yellow sweater, both hands wrapped around a chipped blue bowl of soup, blocking Dr. Adrian Vale's cloudy medicine glass. Celeste Romano smiled too quickly and slid a red-tabbed legal packet behind her hip. Harlan Pike stepped forward with his silver tray. "That does not belong here," he said. Lily looked at Vincent and whispered, "Soup first." 3 hours earlier, the Moretti mansion had sounded too clean. No laughter from the dining room, no music from the East Hall. Only the soft click of polished shoes, the low murmur of guards by the staircase, and the careful breathing of staff who knew better than to be noticed. Clara Harper stood in the service kitchen stirring a small pot of chicken soup, not because anyone had ordered it, but because Lily had refused to sleep after hearing Mr. Moretti coughing through the walls. "He has doctors, baby," Clara said, lowering her voice. "He has people for that." Lily sat on a wooden stool in her socks, swinging her feet above the floor, watching the steam climb from the pot. "Doctors give bitter water," she said. Clara turned. "What bitter water?" Lily shrugged the way small children do when they think grown-ups should already know. "The cup. The man in white gives it. Then Mr. Moretti coughs bigger." Clara's hand tightened around the spoon. She wanted to say Lily was imagining things. She wanted to say little girls heard strange sounds in large houses and turned them into stories. But the sickroom was only one corridor away from the linen closet, and Clara had seen enough to know the house had changed. Celeste came and went with perfume sharp as cold roses. Dr. Vale carried his black medical case everywhere, even when he left for dinner. Harlan had begun locking doors that had never been locked before, and every time Clara tried to bring fresh towels past the carved double doors, Harlan appeared as if he had been waiting for her shadow. "Mrs. Harper," he would say, never raising his voice, "the family requires privacy." The family. Clara had learned that word could close more doors than any key. Lily slid off the stool and reached for the small blue bowl with the chipped rim. "I can carry it." "No," Clara said immediately. "It's hot." Lily froze, wounded but quiet. Clara softened, took a breath, and ladled only a little soup into the bowl, enough for a child to carry if she used both hands. "Slow steps. Both hands. You do not touch anything in that room. You give it to me if Mr. Pike says stop." Lily nodded with the serious face she used when learning something important. In the hallway, the mansion seemed even colder. The marble floor reflected the overhead lights like pale water. Clara walked beside Lily, one hand hovering near the bowl without touching it. As they passed the linen table outside the sickroom, Lily slowed. A folded towel lay there, damp at one corner, though no one had used it. She leaned closer and wrinkled her nose. "That smell," she whispered. Clara looked down. "Keep walking." But Lily did not move. Behind the double doors, Vincent coughed once, twice, then a third time, dry and rough, almost too perfectly spaced. Inside, Celeste's voice floated out, tender enough to fool a room full of mourners. "Darling, just sign the temporary care papers, and no one will bother you tonight." Dr. Vale added, "The medicine first, Mr. Moretti. Food can interfere." That was when Lily pushed the door with her shoulder. The room turned toward her as if a match had been struck in a church. Vincent lay propped against black pillows, silver hair combed back, gold signet ring resting on the blanket, eyes half-lidded but not asleep. Celeste stood nearest the papers. Dr. Vale stood nearest the glass. Harlan stood nearest the door. Lily saw all of that before she saw his face. She walked forward in tiny careful steps, lifted the bowl as high as her arms allowed, and set it before the cloudy cup. Vincent stared at her, not kindly, not cruelly, but like a man measuring whether innocence could be staged. Lily pointed back toward the hallway with one finger still smelling faintly of chicken broth and said, "The towel outside smells like the bad cup." The word towel did more damage than if Lily had screamed. Dr. Adrian Vale's hand paused around the cloudy glass, his thumb still pressed against the rim. while Celeste Romano's smile stayed in place with a little too much discipline. Harlan Pike moved first. He stepped between Lily and the bed with the smooth precision of a man who had spent half his life making problems disappear before important people had to look at them. "Mrs. Harper," he said, never raising his voice. "Your daughter is tired. Take her downstairs." Clara's face lost color. "I'm sorry, Mr. Moretti," she said quickly, reaching for Lily's shoulder. "She didn't mean to interrupt. She heard you coughing and she just wanted to help." "Help," Celeste repeated softly, as if the word were fragile and slightly amusing. She bent a little toward Lily, diamonds catching the lamp light at her throat. "You poor little darling. This room is not a kitchen, sweetheart. Sick men need doctors, not soup carried through service halls." Lily looked at the floor, then at the bowl, then at Vincent. She did not understand diamonds or service halls. She understood a cough. She understood a cup that smelled wrong. She understood her mother's hand trembling on her shoulder. "Mommy washes her hands," Lily said. She washed them 2 times. The room became quieter. Not kinder, only quieter. Vincent's eyes moved from Lily's small fingers to Clara's bent head. He was not the sort of man people defended by accident. He had built restaurants where judges ate in private booths, casinos where senators lost money quietly, and shipping offices by the harbor where no one asked why certain trucks arrived without logos. Yet in his own sickroom, a maid was apologizing for a bowl of soup as if warmth were contraband. Dr. Vale recovered first. He placed the glass down beside the legal packet and opened a leather folder. "Mr. Moretti, with respect, uncontrolled food can interfere with treatment. If there is an adverse reaction, we need documentation. I will note that outside food was brought into the recovery environment against protocol." Clara's hand tightened around Lily's sweater. "It was only chicken soup. Protocol is not personal," Dr. Vale said. Harlan lifted the silver tray from the side table, preparing to remove both bowl and glass. "I will dispose of it, sir." Vincent coughed once into the white handkerchief, not because he needed to, but because every eye in the room leaned toward the sound. He let the cough fade. Then he said, very softly, "Leave the bowl." Harlan stopped. Celeste turned her face toward Vincent with practiced concern. "Darling, you do not have to indulge this. You need rest." Vincent did not look at her. He looked at the tray in Harlan's hands. "Mr. Pike," he said, "when did the child last enter this room?" Harlan's expression did not change. "She has not, sir. Not to my knowledge." Lily's brows pulled together. "But he ate it yesterday." Clara closed her eyes. Celeste exhaled through her nose, a tiny sound wrapped in patience. Children confuse days when they are frightened. Lily shook her head once. "Yesterday had rain on the window." Vincent looked toward the tall curtains. The night before had rained hard enough to streak the glass. He remembered hearing it while Celeste read aloud from a care authorization he never intended to sign. He remembered a small warmth in his stomach afterward, though he had assumed one of the kitchen staff had sent broth. He had not asked. Powerful men often failed to ask where small kindness came from. "Write it in the room log," Vincent said. Harlan bowed slightly. "Of course, sir." "Exactly," Vincent added. "Not elegantly." A faint irritation passed behind Harlan's eyes and vanished so quickly most people would have missed it. Vincent did not. Harlan turned toward the writing desk near the door, tray still balanced in one hand. As he moved, the lamp caught something on the silver rim, a dried orange crescent no larger than a child's fingernail. Harlan saw Vincent looking. With his gloved thumb, he rubbed the mark once, hard and silent, but the stain did not vanish. It only smeared. It only smeared, and for the first time that night, Harlan Pike looked at the tray as if the tray had betrayed him. The orange crescent stretched thinner under his glove, catching the lamplight on the silver rim. Vincent watched the motion, not the stain. Men erased themselves in small habits before they ever confessed in words. Harlan lowered the tray with care, but the room had already changed around him. Clara felt it. Celeste felt it. Even Lily, standing with her small shoulders tucked inward, seemed to understand that grown-ups had stopped talking about soup and started talking around something they did not want named. "Take her downstairs," Harlan said again, this time to Clara, and there was the faintest edge under the polish. Clara nodded quickly. "Come on, baby." Lily looked at Vincent once more, then bent to pick up the cloth napkin that had slipped from the side of her bowl. When she moved, the little crayon notebook fell from the pocket of her yellow sweater and landed open on the rug. A page faced up. A crooked bed, a man with gray hair, a blue bowl, a cloudy cup, and a tall black shape standing beside a circle with eyelashes. "Lily?" Clara whispered, embarrassed, reaching for it. But Dominic Rinaldi, who had been silent near the bookcase, stepped forward first. He did not snatch it. He lifted it gently, as if it might be evidence or prayer. "May I, sir?" he asked. Vincent gave one small nod. Celeste laughed softly. "Now we are examining children's drawings?" she said. Still pleasant, still beautiful, still dangerous because she sounded reasonable. "Vincent, darling, you are exhausted." Dr. Vale adjusted his cuff. "Emotional overstimulation is not advisable in his condition." Lily pointed at the notebook in Dominic's hand. "That's Tuesday." No one answered. She took 2 tiny steps closer, stopping when Clara's hand tightened at her sleeve. Tuesday had rain. Wednesday had no rain. Thursday had the red paper. Vincent's eyes shifted. "What red paper?" Lily looked toward the packet Celeste was still holding partly behind her. "Like that one." Celeste's hand dropped lower, hiding the red tabs against the dark fold of her dress. The gesture lasted less than a second, but Vincent saw it. Dominic turned the page. There were more drawings. 5 of them. Each one had the same bed, the same blue bowl, the same small figure with yellow around it. In 3 drawings, a woman in black stood near a rectangle covered in red lines. In 4, a man in a white coat held a gray cup. In 3, Harlan stood beside the little circle with eyelashes. "What is this?" Dominic asked quietly, pointing at the circle. Lily looked at him as if the answer were obvious. "The little eye on the wall." Harlan's mouth tightened. "A security camera," Dominic said. "It blinks," Lily added. "Then Mr. Pike stands in front of it." Clara closed her eyes. "She draws everything," she said, half apology, half plea. "She is 4. She doesn't mean anything by it." "I know," Vincent said. His voice was low enough that the apology in Clara's face faltered. Dominic had already crossed to the small security panel beside the bookcase. He entered a code, then another. On the screen, the hallway outside Vincent's sick room appeared in cold blue-gray. Marble floor, linen table, double doors. The timestamp from Tuesday night. Dominic rewound. The image played. Clara leaving towels. Harlan entering. Dr. Vale arriving with his black case. Then suddenly the screen froze. 11 minutes vanished into black. Dominic checked Wednesday. Another gap. Thursday. Another gap. Each missing stretch matched one of Lily's drawings with Harlan standing beside the little eye. Celeste's smile did not break, but her voice lost its warmth by 1 degree. Security systems fail, especially in old houses. Vincent looked from the black screen to the notebook, then to Lily's small crayon handprints on the blue bowl. He still did not believe everything. He did not need to. Not yet. He only needed to understand that a child's drawings had remembered what his own cameras had forgotten. Dominic turned one final page, and there, drawn in red crayon beside Vincent's bed, was the same packet Celeste had tried to hide, with one childish word printed above it in uneven letters. Cough. The word cough sat there in red crayon, crooked and childish, but it had the weight of a signature. Vincent stared at it longer than anyone expected. Celeste moved first, gently closing her fingers over the top of the legal packet as if she were only tidying the room. "Children attach words to pictures," she said. "It does not mean anything." Lily stood beside Clara with both hands clasped around the edge of her sweater. She looked smaller now that the adults were all standing, smaller beneath the carved ceiling, the dark oil portraits, the heavy curtains, the polished men with quiet shoes and colder eyes. Harlan Pike cleared his throat. Sir, I recommend we end this. The child has been overstimulated. Mrs. Harper can return her to the service quarters. Clara's face tightened at the word service, but she said nothing. Lily did. I'm not stimulated, she said carefully, tripping over the large word. I'm just telling. A thin silence passed through the room. Dr. Vale gave a professional smile. And that is very brave, Lily. But grown-up matters require grown-up evidence. Vincent looked at him then, not with anger, but with the stillness that made men in courtrooms forget the lies they had prepared. Then we will use grown-up evidence, he said. He leaned back into the pillows, lifted the handkerchief to his mouth, and coughed 3 times. Short, dry, controlled. Then he lowered his hand and said nothing. No one moved for the first minute. The room held its breath with him. Clara glanced toward the door. Dominic looked at the clock on the mantel. Lily looked at Vincent's face, confused, because the cough had not sounded like the bad ones. It sounded like someone knocking on a door from the inside. 3 minutes later, soft footsteps rushed in the hall. Celeste opened the door without knocking. Dr. Vale behind her with his black case. Harlan behind them, both carrying a red envelope Vincent had not asked for. Celeste stopped when she saw the room exactly as she had left it. Darling, she said, too tenderly. We heard you coughing. Vincent's eyes lifted. Did you? Celeste's smile did not break. The staff told me. Which staff? He asked. For the first time, her answer came a fraction too late. Everyone is concerned. Dr. Vale stepped forward quickly. Mr. Moretti, if the cough is increasing, we should proceed with the medication schedule. Stress can worsen respiratory instability. He reached toward the cloudy glass. Vincent raised one finger. The room stopped again. Soup first, he said. Harlan's jaw tightened. Celeste touched Vincent's wrist, her thumb brushing near the signet ring. Please do not let a child's superstition interfere with treatment. Lily hugged the blue bowl to her chest, though the soup had gone lukewarm. It isn't superstition, she said. It's dinner. Someone near the doorway gave a small breath that might have been laughter and swallowed it quickly. Celeste's eyes flicked toward the child, and for one bare second the softness left her face. Sweetheart, she said. Important people are trying to keep him alive. Lily looked up at Vincent. Then why do they bring the red paper when you cough? Dominic turned toward the bedside table, where a white tissue box sat beside a water pitcher and the folded VM handkerchief. Lily followed his gaze and pointed with one finger. The tiny firefly is gone. Vincent's eyes narrowed. What firefly? It was green, Lily whispered. Under there. It blinked when you coughed. Dominic crossed the room slowly and lifted the tissue box. Beneath it, tucked into the shadow of the carved wooden stand, was a tiny black disc no wider than a dime. A green light on its side went dark just as Dominic reached for it. Celeste exhaled as if bored. Probably one of the medical monitors. Dr. Vale nodded too quickly. Yes, some devices transmit remotely. Vincent looked at the disc, then at Celeste, then at the red envelope in Harlan's hand. Interesting, he said softly. I coughed in a locked room, and the paper arrived before the nurse did. The sentence landed so quietly that no one could pretend they had not heard it. Harlan's fingers tightened around the red envelope. Dr. Vale's gaze moved to the black disc in Dominic's palm, then away from it too fast. Celeste gave a soft, wounded laugh, the kind meant to make suspicion look cruel. Vincent, you are ill. You are hearing danger in ordinary things. Vincent did not answer her. He looked at Dominic. Bag it. Dominic removed a clean evidence sleeve from the inside pocket of his jacket with the calm of a man who had expected the night to become legal. He photographed the disc under the tissue box, the green light, the position beside the bed, then sealed it, without letting Harlan touch the table. Chain of custody starts now, he said. Dr. Vale lifted both hands slightly. This is unnecessary theater. Many remote monitors use small transmitters. Then you will have no objection to giving us the model number, Dominic said. Dr. Vale's lips parted, then closed. Lily, who had been watching the grown-ups the way children watch thunder through a window, suddenly reached into the deep front pocket of her yellow sweater. Clara whispered, "Lily, no." But Lily had already pulled out the folded white handkerchief marked VM. She held it carefully by two corners, like Clara had taught her to hold hot laundry. "I didn't wipe it," she said. "The bad cup smell is still there." Vincent's eyes moved to the cloth. He remembered dropping it beside the cloudy glass earlier, remembered Dr. Vale leaning over him with a tone that sounded like concern and felt like instruction. He also remembered Celeste dabbing his wrist with that same handkerchief the night before, telling him he looked pale, telling him he should not fight the people trying to care for him. For several seconds, Vincent only stared. In those seconds, the room seemed to pull away from him. Not because he was weak, but because something in him was becoming colder than anger. "Where did you get that?" Harlan asked Lily. His voice remained polite, but the softness had been scraped from it. Lily stepped closer to Clara without hiding the cloth. "It fell when the bowl moved." Clara swallowed. She thought she'd done something wrong. "She kept it so I could wash it before anyone blamed her." The word blamed stayed in the air. Vincent heard it. So did Celeste. Dominic took the handkerchief from Lily with two gloved fingers and placed it into a second sleeve. "Private lab," Vincent said. "Not the family clinic." "Doutor Vale Strygened." "That is an insult." "No," Vincent said. "It is a precaution." The first report came less than an hour later through an encrypted call to Dominic's phone. By then, Lily had been allowed to sit on the small chair by the wall with her blue bowl in her lap, Clara standing behind her like a shield she was too tired to hold up. Dominic listened, said almost nothing, then ended the call and leaned near Vincent. "The residue is not lethal," he murmured, "but it can cause drowsiness, tremors, delayed response, confusion under stress. Enough to make a man look unreliable." Vincent did not blink. Celeste touched his shoulder. "Darling, whatever this is, Adrian only wanted you comfortable." Vincent looked down at her hand. Her fingers rested near the signet ring, not on his skin. Dominic continued, "Lot number on the medicine glass does not match the pharmacy account registered to the Moretti household." At the service doorway, Clara bent to pick up the folded towel Lily had mentioned earlier. Something slipped from beneath it and tapped against the marble floor. A single page, half hidden, and signed, typed in formal language. Clara picked it up, read 3 words, and went still. Dominic crossed to her and took it gently. Vincent saw the heading before anyone spoke. Incident report, unauthorized food delivery, Clara Harper. The words Clara Harper looked too clean on the page, too neatly typed, too ready. Vincent held out one hand without asking, and Dominic placed the report on the blanket beside the gold signet ring. It accused Clara of repeated unauthorized food delivery, possible contamination, emotional manipulation of a minor, and disregard for medical instruction. The language was polished, professional, and colder than an insult because it had been built to survive a courtroom. Clara did not cry. She only stared at her own name as if it belonged to a woman already being removed from the house. Lily slid off the little chair and pressed herself against her mother's skirt, still holding the chipped blue bowl with both hands. "Mommy didn't put bad things," she said. "Mommy makes soup." No one answered her at first. Outside the tall windows, rain began to tap softly against the glass, thin and steady, the kind of rain that made even a mansion sound lonely. In the service kitchen down the hall, a washing machine thumped once, then settled into a low spin. For a few seconds, that was the only ordinary sound left in the Moretti house. Then Vincent looked at Dominic. "Find out who drafted it." Dominic photographed the page, sealed it, and stepped into the corner with his phone. Harlan Pike stood near the doorway with perfect posture, but the edge of his cuff had shifted, revealing a smear of orange where he had tried to wipe the soup stain from the tray. Celeste sat beside Vincent as though the discovery had wounded her personally. "This is exactly why I worried," she said softly. "People in vulnerable positions become attached to powerful families. Boundaries blur. Staff make mistakes. Children misunderstand. Clara looked down. Miss Romano, I never asked him for anything. Celeste's eyes flickered. No one said you did. The paper did, Lily whispered. That made Vincent turn his head. Lily was not looking at Celeste. She was looking at the report. She could not read it, not all of it, but she knew her mother's name. She knew when grown-ups used nice paper to make someone small. Dominic ended the call and returned with his face expressionless. The draft came from Harlan's office account, he said, but it was attached to a larger file. He glanced at Dr. Vale. Temporary incapacity petition. Medical support letter. Transfer of care authority. Emergency access to private accounts and household records. Celeste is listed as primary decision-maker. Dr. Vale lifted his chin. Standard protective structure for a declining patient. Declining, Vincent repeated. His voice had no anger in it, which made it worse. Dominic continued. There is also an invoice for a remote monitoring device purchased through Northbank Wellness Group. Dr. Vale said nothing. Northbank is not in our approved medical network, Dominic added. It was registered 6 months ago. Billing contact matches an assistant in Dr. Vale's office. Celeste stood then, slow and graceful, as if rising above vulgar suspicion. Vincent, this is becoming humiliating. You are sick. Adrian is trying to protect you. Harlan is trying to protect the house. I am trying to protect you from being exploited. Vincent looked at Clara, still standing by the door like she was waiting to be dismissed from her own accusation. He looked at Lily, whose small fingers had gone white around the blue bowl. What do you want, Lily? He asked. Clara's lips parted, frightened by the question. Lily thought carefully. I want Mommy not to be in trouble for soup. A silence followed, heavy and exact. Not money, not a room, not a favor from the most dangerous man in the house. Only that a lie stopped before it swallowed her mother. Vincent folded the incident report once, not to hide it, but to mark it. Dominic, he said. Clara Harper is not to be removed from this property without our attorney present. Her employment file is frozen. Every hallway log, kitchen log, camera gap, pharmacy delivery, and clinic invoice from the last 30 days is copied tonight. Harlan's mouth opened slightly. Sir, with respect, that may create unnecessary concern among staff. Vincent finally looked at him. Good. The rain kept touching the glass. Vincent stared at the folded report with Clara's name on it, then at Celeste's hand resting near his ring, then at Harlan guarding the door as if loyalty were a uniform. And with a coldness that settled deeper than betrayal, he understood that he had spent years watching enemies outside his house, while the people inside taught a maid to apologize for saving him. He did not move after that realization. Vincent only let the silence stay long enough for everyone in the room to mistake it for weakness. Then he coughed once into the white VM handkerchief, folded it with slow fingers, and leaned back against the black pillows as if the effort had emptied him. I need rest, he said. Celeste's shoulders eased by half an inch. Dr. Vale picked up his medical case. Harlan lowered his chin with the grave satisfaction of a man who believed order had returned. They did not understand that Vincent Moretti had just stopped fighting in the open because he had chosen to fight properly. By 2 in the morning, the sick room looked unchanged. The same heavy curtains, the same water pitcher, the same red-marked papers on the bedside table. But Dominic had replaced the inside of Vincent's old pocket watch with a camera no wider than a shirt button, its lens hidden behind the cracked glass that had belonged to Vincent's father. A thin recorder had been fixed under the felt lining of Lily's soup tray, where no one who despised kitchen things would ever think to look. On the writing desk lay a new packet of documents, face down, marked with a red tab and a false emergency authorization page carrying a tiny blue near the corner, a tracking mark only Dominic and Vincent knew about. Clara stood just inside the service doorway, pale with fear, while Lily leaned against her leg with both arms wrapped around the chipped blue bowl. Mr. Moretti, Clara whispered. I don't want her near any of this. Vincent looked at Lily, then at Clara. She won't be. His voice was low, steady. She brings soup. She tells the truth. That is all. Lily looked up. Mommy can come too? Vincent's eyes shifted to the incident report sealed in plastic on the table. Your mother comes as a witness now. The word witness made Clara blink, as if it was the first title the house had ever given her that did not reduce her. Vincent reached for the spoon Lily had brought and set it beside the bowl. Lily, he asked softly, when does Mr. Pike come to the hallway? She thought about it with the seriousness of a child counting bedtime steps. After the big clock sings 2 times, she said. Not the little clock, the kitchen one. It goes bong bong. Then his shoes come. Dominic looked at Clara. Clara nodded slowly. The kitchen clock chimes on the half hour. Twice at 1:30. Vincent said nothing. At 1:29, the room held its breath. Rain slid down the windows in narrow silver lines. A phone vibrated once on the bedside table, but no one touched it. The pocket watch faced the door. The red packet lay face down. The soup tray sat where Lily had placed it, small and harmless. Then, from far down the service hall, the kitchen clock chimed twice. Bong! Bong! 40 seconds later, Harlan Pike's polished shoes stopped outside the door. His hand rested on the knob for a moment too long. He entered without knocking, carrying no tray this time. He went first to Vincent's bed, studied the sleeping shape beneath the blanket, then crossed to the desk. He lifted the red packet. The pocket watch caught him. The recorder caught his breath. From the hallway, Dr. Vale whispered, "Is it signed?" Harlan answered, "Not yet, but he is weaker. By morning, Celeste can press him. And if the maid makes noise, we use the bowl." In the dark corner beyond the bookcase, Dominic's upload bar reached 100%. Vincent opened his eyes, still perfectly still, and saw Harlan freeze as Lily's small voice came from the doorway behind Clara. "I told you. He comes after the clock." Harlan did not turn around at first. His hand remained on the red packet, fingers curved over the paper as if he could still make himself look like a man tidying a desk. Then the room lights came on, not bright, not theatrical, only enough to show every face without mercy. Dominic stepped from the bookcase shadow with his phone in one hand and the sealed incident report in the other. Vincent sat up slowly. The blanket fell from his shoulders. He did not cough. That was the first thing Harlan understood, and it drained the color from his face more completely than any accusation could have. "Good evening, Mr. Pike," Vincent said. His voice was rough but not weak. Behind Clara's skirt, Lily held the blue bowl against her chest and looked at the old pocket watch on the table, the one she had been told not to touch. Its cracked glass reflected Harlan standing exactly where her drawing said he would stand. Dr. Vale appeared in the doorway, one hand still on his medical case. Celeste came behind him in a black silk robe, hair pinned perfectly, face arranged into fear before anyone had told her what to fear. "Vincent," she whispered, "what is happening?" "Exactly what you planned," he said. "Only with witnesses." By dawn, the private sickroom had become the coldest courtroom in America without a judge present. The Moretti family attorney stood beside Dominic. An independent physician from Chicago General reviewed the lab report under the lamp. 2 senior business managers stood near the wall, silent, because the documents on the table carried their department seals. Clara was not kept outside. Vincent had a chair placed for her inside the room, beside Lily, where Harlan had once blocked the threshold with his body. Celeste saw the chair and gave one small, elegant blink. "A maid is part of this meeting now." Lily's fingers tightened on the bowl. Clara lowered her eyes, but Vincent did not. "Mrs. Harper is a witness," he said. "Say her name properly." No one moved. Dominic played the first file. Harlan's voice filled the room from the recorder hidden beneath the soup tray. "The maid is already suspended. If anything goes wrong, the bowl explains everything." Clara's hand flew to her mouth, but she made no sound. Lily looked up at her mother, confused by the grown-up words, understanding only enough to know they had meant to make the soup bad. Dominic played the second file, the pocket watch video. Harlan lifting the red packet. Dr. Vale asking if it was signed. Celeste's voice from another recording, lower, impatient, telling Harlan that Vincent only needed to look incapable long enough for the emergency petition to pass. Dr. Vale tried to speak, but the independent doctor placed the lab report beside the cloudy glass. "This dosage pattern is not standard respiratory care," she said. "It would impair response time and create the appearance of cognitive decline." Vincent looked at the paper. For one long moment he could not speak. Not because the betrayal surprised him. He had survived betrayal before. What made him go pale was the carefulness of it. They had not needed him dead. They had needed him present, breathing, dressed, ring on his hand, while they erased his right to be believed. And under that plan, they had left space for Clara's name. A maid to blame, a child's bowl to point at, a small life to crush neatly under a legal sentence. Celeste straightened. "You are trusting a toddler's drawings over people who love you?" Lily slid off her chair. She did not march. She simply walked to the table, set the chipped blue bowl beside the lab report, and opened her crayon notebook to the page marked cough. "I draw what happens," she said, "not what people say." The room went utterly still. Vincent placed his signet ring on top of the false authorization packet, then looked at his attorney. "Lock every account, preserve every file, and call the district attorney." The attorney did not ask Vincent to repeat himself. He took out his phone, stepped beside the window, and began giving instructions in the calm voice of a man who understood that a household scandal had just become a criminal file. No one shouted. No guards dragged anyone across the floor. That would have made it smaller than it was. Instead, the room became procedural, precise, and inescapable. Dominic collected the chipped blue bowl, the recorder from beneath the tray, the pocket watch camera, the cloudy glass, the sealed VM handkerchief, the listening device from under the tissue box, the false authorization packet, the lab reports, the clinic invoice, and the incident report bearing Clara Harper's name. Each item was photographed, labeled, sealed, and logged in front of the family attorney and the independent physician. Celeste watched it happen with her chin raised, but the color beneath her makeup had thinned. Dr. Vale kept insisting there had been a misunderstanding in medication management until the attorney placed the North Bank Wellness invoice beside his medical case and asked whether he preferred to answer through counsel. Harlan stood by the door he had guarded for years, his face hard with the humiliation of being unable to block anyone from leaving or entering anymore. When the district attorney's investigator arrived later that morning, it was not with sirens, but with two quiet agents, a folder of printed screenshots from the pocket watch camera, and a request that no one leave the property until statements were taken. Celeste's engagement ring came off before noon. Vincent did not touch it. He had the attorney place it in a separate envelope with a letter terminating every authority she had ever been granted over his household, his medical care, his accounts, and his family name. Dr. Vale was reported to the state medical board and the hospital network he had pretended to represent. His clinic connection was frozen pending investigation. Harlan Pike was dismissed with cause in writing, his access card deactivated while he stood there, the small beep from the security panel sounding louder than any insult. But Vincent did not look satisfied. Satisfaction would have meant this was only about enemies losing. He looked toward Clara, who still sat in the chair as if waiting for someone to realize the seat was not meant for her. The attorney placed a new folder on the table. Vincent opened it, then pushed it toward her with two fingers. "Mrs. Harper," he said, and the entire room heard him use her name correctly. "This house accused you with paper. It will clear you with paper." Clara stared at the documents. Her employment record had been frozen, corrected, and restored. The false incident report was marked fraudulent. Her withheld overtime and deducted wages from the service kitchen were itemized for repayment. A new contract guaranteed legal counsel, health insurance, safe housing outside the service quarters if she wanted it, and written protections for every domestic employee in the Moretti estate. Not charity. Policy. Not a favor. Correction. Clara tried to speak, but her voice failed. Vincent stood then, slowly, with no cough to lean on, and bowed his head to her in the room where she had once been told not to cross the threshold. "I am sorry," he said. "You should never have had to apologize for caring for someone in my house." Lily did not understand all the papers. She understood her mother's shoulders lowering. She understood that Harlan was no longer standing at the door. She understood that the blue bowl had been treated gently, not thrown away. When Dominic finished copying the crayon notebook, he returned the original to her with both hands. A duplicate went into the legal file beside the camera logs, because a child's drawings had become part of the truth adults had tried to erase. The VM handkerchief stayed sealed as evidence. The pocket watch returned to Vincent's bedside, cracked glass and all, no longer just a memory of his father but a witness to the day the house learned to look downward. That evening, after the investigators left and the rain finally stopped, the sickroom doors remained open. No red packet sat on the table. No cloudy glass waited beside the bed. Only the chipped blue bowl, refilled with warm soup, and 3 chairs pulled close enough that no one had to stand in the doorway. Lily climbed into the smallest chair, placed her spoon beside Vincent's, and looked at him with the solemn kindness of a child who still believed sick people should eat first. "Do you need soup tomorrow?" she asked. Vincent looked at Clara, then at Lily, and for the first time in years his silence did not feel like armor. "Only if you both sit with me," he said. And in the room where power had tried to bury the truth under signatures, the smallest voice at the table was finally the one everyone listened to.